Now that we've gone through all the mechanics of setting up ads and an ad campaign, next up, we want to focus on the content, which is going to help you create powerful ads that sell, whether you're selling a product directly or you're trying to sell them on opting in to a free client magnet or registering for a webinar or anything like that. Now, when we're going to talk about this, we're going to focus on the text and then we're going to focus on the creatives. So when we think about the text, I want you to remember that we're still very much focused on at what awareness point people are in the customer journey. Are they totally unaware? Are we down to providing them with a reminder about the offer? At what end of the spectrum are we? This is going to determine the copy, and the creative that we are going to use. So let's start off by talking about an ad that you would do for a totally unaware cold audience, because it's a bit easier to pull out what we need on the other layers once we start there. So what I have here in front of you is a guideline, and this is really going back to the basics for what is how to create persuasive copy. And this is actually from Jen Edwards' VSL template. And it's very powerful because what are VSLs designed to do? They're designed to help you go change your state from one to the other. So by the end of the video, you are ready to buy. So we just have to apply that template to the text of the ads. One little tip for you, though, is as of the time of this recording, Facebook does not favor emojis in the text anymore. They see multiple emojis in a row for sure as a red flag for spam. So I would recommend that you stay away from emojis. And if you do need to put them in, just put them in sparingly, just so you want to try and stay under the radar with Facebook in terms of red flags. So on a cold one, we're probably going to do something that's longer. I wouldn't obsess too much about the exact length of the ads. There's no perfect length. I would divide them up into short, medium, and long just for purposes of testing, because I would test long versus medium versus short, and you can even test different versions of long and different versions of medium, etc., to see how well the copy works. And sometimes, I find that tweaks to your copy could make all the difference between an ad that's tanking to an ad that all of a sudden turns and becomes successful. So you can take a look at the steps here, all the way from catching their attention all the way to asking for the order. And you'll see ads go through this often in a story format. And the reason is that they're trying to stay away from using the word you. So one of the things Facebook does not like is for us to include claims in our ads, because Facebook feels that leaves them too open to people suing them. And one of the triggers for that is using the word you or calling out very specific behaviors. For example, they don't like ads that say, you're too fat, for example. That Facebook would not like that. So oftentimes what people will do to get around this is to tell a story. So I'm going to tell you a story about Sam, and Sam did this and Sam did that, and Sam ended up following this method and he got this result. So all of a sudden, that becomes a little bit more acceptable. And oftentimes when you see these stories, it's about somebody else or it's about themselves. They'll follow this very similar template. Now, catching their attention is important. I'll just mention this at the top, because right now you see about 3 lines at the top, and I've seen some people use that very cleverly. I even saw someone who did the 2 lines and then the next line he put ... and then because you're trying to get people to click the more button to read the whole thing. So you want to start by catching their attention with something like that, and then stating the problem, again, agitating the problem, and depending on what stage. So we're at totally cold, right? If you're totally cold, you do have to spend more time to make sure that you can just even make them aware that they have the problem. And stories can be a great vehicle to do that. Another tip I have for you is, if you have the landing page already with the copy on it that's already been written, many times I'll just take the copy from the landing page and I'll put it into the ad. problem solved, right? I'll test that out because when you click through an ad, and this is sort of a general ads principle, you want to make sure that people don't feel like they're in the wrong place. So if it's very similar, like similar look and feel and similar message, then they're likely to stay. So that's another thing that I would try and do as well, instead of stressing too much over creating the perfect, ad copy to start. And, once you get going on this, then you can test different versions. And sometimes I like to do long because it's easier to edit it down to medium or short. It just depends on how you like to work. Other shortcuts are, you could use, there's software out there that helps you generate copy, or you could hire a copywriter. There's also services out there that only write Facebook ads. Some of them are good, some of them are not so great. So you can test those out as well. Just put something together and just stay simple as your first message.